fifth night of Navaratri here at Sangkat Mochan Hanuman Temple, Mount Madonna Center in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California. We read the Ramayana every night during this celebration. Tonight, like I said, is the fifth night, and I'll read a description of this chapter. So while searching for Sita, Ram meets with Sugriva and makes a crucial alliance with him. Ram helps him to become the leader of the monkeys, and in return, Sugriva assembles a vast monkey army to find and rescue Sita. Ram gives instructions to the monkey lord Sugriva and to Jambavan, lord of the bears. The monkeys and bears carry their characteristic weapons, rocks and uprooted trees. So the title of this chapter is The Monkey Kingdom, Alliance with the Monkeys. Beside Pampa Lake, the season of spring had carpeted the soft turf with blue and yellow flowers, covered the trees and creepers in blossom, and wafted black honeybees among the perfumed blooms. Creepers embraced the trees like amorous young women with their lovers. Cuckoos sang love songs, and peacocks danced. Ram could think only of Sita. The lotus flowers in the lake reminded him of her. He heard her calling him to see the beauty of the waterfalls and smelled her in the scented flowers. Without her, he could not live. Perhaps she will give up her life when she sees spring without me, he spoke aloud. If she would come to me now, I would be satisfied here forever, and would never wish again for Ayodhya, or even the pleasures of paradise. Be patient, said Lakshman. Now is the time for heroism and determination, not grief and despondency. We must find her wherever Ravana has hidden her. One day, Sugriva, lord of the monkey tribes called the Vanaras, came near the lake to gather fruits and spied them. When he saw those two monkey princes, he froze in fear, thinking them allies of his enemy, Vali. He hurried back to his lair and called together his counselors. Vali has sent two powerful warriors disguised as hermits. How shall we protect ourselves? Among his followers was Hanuman, son of the wind god, who was wise and fearless. He counseled Sugriva. We need not fear Vali, who cannot enter this region. Why should we panic at the sight of two men? Well, these are not ordinary men, replied Sugriva. They look more like gods, and they may be with Vali. Go and observe them closely and find out their business. Hanuman disguised himself as a forest hermit and approached the two brothers. Bowing before them, he spoke with simple words, gentle words. I salute you. With eyes like lotuses and weapons of gold, you look like the moon god and sun god. I am Hanuman, son of the wind god, minister of the monkey lord Sugriv. Pray tell me who you are and what brings you here. Hanuman's words showed him to be learned and gentle, and Ram answered him with respect. I am Ram, son of Dasarath, and this is my brother Lakshman. He went on to say how they came to be in the forest, and how Sita had been kidnapped. We know of Sugriv, and we seek his friendship and help, said Lakshman. Hanuman thought these two men would be valuable allies for Sugriv. He in turn told them how Sugriv had been exiled, and how he had lost his wife at the hands of his cruel brother Vali. Come, I will take you to Sugriv, he concluded. Revealing his true monkey form, he lifted the brothers onto his shoulders and carried them through the forest to Sugriv's camp on Rishyamukha hill. Arriving among Sugriv's assembly, Hanuman introduced Ram and explained that he needed help. am indeed fortunate, said Sugriv, rising to meet Ram. Here is my hand in token of my friendship, if you will accept it. Ram gladly clasped Sugriv's hand and warmly embraced him. Then Hanuman lit a fire between the two, and together they walked around it to seal their alliance. We are now united as friends, and our joys and sorrows are one, declared Sugriv, hugely satisfied. Breaking off a large leafy branch from a nearby tree, he offered it to Ram as a seat and sat beside him, while Hanuman did the same, breaking another branch and sharing it with Lakshman. Sugriv then confided with Ram. I live in fear of my brother Vali. Please protect me. Don't worry, reassured Ram. You have my word that I shall kill this Vali and help you recover your wife. I have some news for you about Sita, spoke Sugriv. I was sitting with 4 friends on top of the hill some days ago when we saw a strange sight. Passing over us in the air was a princess struggling in the arms of Ravana. As they flew above us, she threw down a wrapper containing shining jewels. He showed Ram the jewels. Instantly recognized them, Ram could not hold back his tears and cried, "My darling," holding them to his heart. Tell me where Ravana has taken her, and I will send him to his death this very day, he swore. I do not know where Ravana lives or where he has taken Sita, confessed Sugriv. But I give you my word that I and my monkeys will find her. Do not give way to this overwhelming grief. As your friend, I beg you to be brave and restrain your tears. I'm thankful for your words of advice, said Ram. You are a true friend in time of need. But tell me, how can I help you? Sugriv told Ram his story. Vali, his older brother, son of Indra, the rain god, was ruler of the Vanara kingdom of Kishkinda. One day, the demon Mayavi challenged Vali to a duel. Taking Sugriv with him, Vali went to face him, but the demon fled. They gave chase, and Mayavi hid in a deep cave. Ordering his brother to stand guard outside the cave, Vali went in after him. A year passed, and still he had not returned. So Sugriv, thinking his brother dead, sealed the mouth of the cave with a large stone and returned to Kishkinda, where he was crowned king in Vali's place. Meanwhile, Vali killed Mayavi and escaped from the cave, arriving back in his kingdom to find Sugriv on the throne. In fury, he denounced him, seized his wife, and banished him. Since then, I've lived in fear, wandering the forests and hills, until I found shelter here in Rishamukha, the only place where Vali cannot harm me. He can throw mountain peaks in the air and catch them and tear up large trees at will. But once he fought the demon Dundubhi, killing him by throwing him a distance of 4 miles. The demon's body landed near this place and splashed blood on the sage Matanga. He was so disturbed by this intrusion that he cursed Vali that if he or any of his monkeys ever set foot here, they would be turned to stone. That is why we live here, because it is the only place where we are safe from him. Now that you know the strength of Vali, you will surely understand if I doubt whether you are strong enough to oppose him. No one has ever defeated him in combat. So how do I know you can do it? The skeleton of the demon Dundumbi lies nearby. If you can throw it with your foot a distance of 1,000 yards, then you may be strong enough. Ram took up this challenge, and, lifting the carcass with one toe, tossed it 100 miles. But Sugriv was not satisfied. The carcass is dried up and lighter than when Vali threw it. I have another test for you. Sometimes Vali used to pierce these sal trees to practice his archery, splitting the trunk of a tree in two. If you can do that, you are strong enough to defeat him. Close by were 7 sal trees in a row. Ram took an arrow from his quiver and shot it from his bow. It passed through each of the trees in turn, then penetrated the earth as far as the underworld, before bursting out again minutes later and re-entering his quiver. After seeing this feat, Sugriv bowed low in astonishment and was fully convinced of Ram's power to defeat Vali. Come then, said Ram, let us go to Kishkinda, where you can challenge your brother to a duel. The death of Vali. Kishkinda, the capital of the Vanara kingdom, was built around a series of underground caves, with carved pillars and cascades of water. Here Vali lived in comfort with his wives. His peace was disturbed by the roaring of Sugriv, who stood outside challenging him to duel, with Ram concealed in the forest nearby. The two brothers met with a thunderous clash, like Mercury crashing into Mars. Ram, concealed behind a tree, watched closely, his bow at the ready, waiting for an opportunity to strike Vali. But he was baffled. The brothers appeared identical, and it was impossible for him to be sure which one was Vali. Eventually, Vali got the upper hand, and Sugriv, battered and bleeding, was forced to retreat, running for his life to the safety of Rishamukha. When Ram returned, Sugriv was dismayed. You encouraged me to fight with Vali, said Sugriv, saying you would kill him, but now I see it as I feared. You don't have the strength to do it. Let me explain, Ram, replied Ram. I was unable to tell you and Vali apart and did not dare fire my arrow in case I killed you by accident. Next time, you must wear some distinguishing mark. So Lakshman made a garland of flowering creepers and put it around Sugriv's neck, and they went back a second time. At the entrance to Kishkinda, Sugriv let out a roar which split the air, frightening away all the forest animals. In response, Vali shook with rage and prepared to meet him, but his wife, Tara, was anxious. Quell your anger and don't let yourself be provoked. I feel uneasy about Sugriv coming a second time. I have heard that he has made friendship with Ram, son of the Emperor of Ayodhya, who is invincible in battle. My advice is that you abandon this quarrel with your brother. Make him Prince Regent and give him gifts and befriend Ram as well. But Vali, in the grip of fate, did not heed Tara's advice. Why should I put up with his arrogance, said Vali. And besides, Ram would never harm an innocent person such as me. I will fight again with Sugriv, so long as he stands up to me. He will soon run away when he feels the blows of my fists. So Vali sallied forth, hissing like a snake. His brother Sugriv, shining golden brown, tightened his cloth and waited for him. The two met once more, colliding like two bulls. Vali smashed Sugriv with his fist, making him vomit blood. Then Sugriv tore up a tree and struck Vali to the ground, making him shake. They locked in combat, each effulgent like the moon and sun in the sky. They fought with tree trunks, boulders, fists, feet, arms, and legs, roaming about the forest, smeared in blood like two storm clouds. Vali started to get the upper hand, and Sugriv desperately looked around for Ram. Seeing his chance, Ram let loose an arrow tipped with gold and silver. With a thunderous flash, it tore into Vali's breast and knocked him to the ground. Uttering a cry of pain, he lay motionless. He was mortally wounded, but he still had the strength to speak. He saw Ram with his bow and accused him. This is a cruel and dishonorable act, to kill someone who is not fighting against you. I never thought you would stoop to attack me in such a way. I did nothing against you. I'm an innocent monkey who lived in the forest eating only fruits and roots. Though you are born to be a king, you have no rights over me. You are ruler of men, whereas I am a beast of the jungle, who has done you no harm. What do you have to say in defense of your brutal behavior? Vali lapsed into silence, his mouth parched and his body racked with pain. Ram answered Vali with respect. Why do you reproach me? Listen to the reasons for my action. My brother, Bharat, is emperor of these lands, and it is my duty, under his command, to uphold justice throughout his kingdom. You failed to give due protection to your younger brother, who you should treat as your own son. And moreover, you took his wife, Uma. The punishment for one who has union with his brother's wife while his brother is alive is death. These are my reasons for slaying you, as well as to fulfill my word to your brother that I would help him recover his wife and his kingdom. I have acted as lawkeeper for your own good, because the religious laws state that a criminal justly punished is absolved of his sin and ascends to heaven, just as the pious do. Thus, I have released you from your sin, and I have no regrets over what I've done. Vali sighed. What you have done is correct. I see that you are indeed devoted to the good of all people with a clear and unruffled mind. I beg you to fulfill my last request. Please see that my son, Angad, who is still a boy, is reconciled with Sugriv and cared for by him. And see that Sugriv treats my widow, Tara, with kindness. Do not worry on this score, Ram reassured him. Forgive me, whispered Vali. Hearing news of her husband's condition, Tara hurried to him, crying and beating her head in agony. She came upon him, lying on the ground like a spent cloud, and clasped him to her bosom. Why don't you speak to me, my great hero? Why does my heart not break into 1,000 pieces to see you in this state? You've got your reward for banishing your brother and stealing his wife. If only you had heeded my advice. Here is your son. Come, darling Angad. See your father for the last time. Vali glimpsed his brother, Sugriv, standing before him. Forgive me, brother, he murmured. I was carried away by forces out of my control. I'm about to leave for the abode of death. And I want you to take the throne and rule over Kishkinda. Please look after my son, Angad, as if he were your own. And be considerate to Tara. And always listen to her advice, for she speaks the truth. Finally he spoke to his son. Accept Sugriv as your protector and serve him with devotion. Do not be over fond of others, nor without affection, but always seek the balance. With these words, Vali breathed his last. Sugriv was overcome with remorse after hearing his brother's dying words and thought of ending his own life in recompense. Tara also wanted to die. You are wise and patient, she prayed to Ram. Please kill me with the same arrow that killed my husband. Then I can be reunited with him. Do not despair, Ram comforted them, for this world is made up of happiness and sorrow in equal measure. Tara, you will find happiness under the protection of Sugriv, and your son will be Prince Regent. Therefore, do not lament. Ram then helped them with Bali's funeral. They carried his body in procession to a lonely spot by the river, where a funeral pyre was built, and sacred hymns were chanted. As the hills echoed to the crying of his wives and the Vanar women, his body was enveloped in flames, and he departed on his long journey to the next world. Ram patiently watched as Sugriv and his companions bathed in the river to purify themselves, and she came towards him. Hanuman spoke up. We will now take Sugriv to Kishkinda and crown him. After he has been ceremonially anointed and bathed according to our customs, please come and feast with us in our capital. Thank you, Hanuman, replied Ram, but I cannot indulge in the comforts of Kishkinda. I must keep my vow to my father and stay in the forest until my 14 years are up. Thus Sugriv, with the help of Ram, got back his wife Ruma and his kingdom and lived happily. Meanwhile, the monsoon season began, and the rains made it impossible for Ram and his new allies to track down Ravana. You all enjoy yourselves, said Ram. I will live with Lakshman in this cave, which is dry and airy with a nearby waterfall. In 4 months, when the rains are over, our search for Sita will begin. Gathering the tribes. The rains intensified, and Sugriv and Ram retired to their caves. Sugriv to the comfort of the cave city of Kishkinda, and Ram to his hermit's cave in the forest. The cave chosen by Ram and Lakshman was ideal for their needs. It was near the wooded summit of Prasravana Hill, deep and dry and well sheltered from the rain-laden easterly winds. Close by was a rocky pool of lotus flowers, and not far away, a broad river with sandy banks. Sitting at the entrance of the cave, Ram looked out through the rain. The earth steamed and dark clouds lashed the mountainsides. The flashes of lightning inside the dark clouds seemed to him like Sita, struggling in the arms of Ravana, and the rain seemed like her tears. The heat and dust of summer subsided, and tracks became muddy and impassable. Mountain streams rushed to the sea, strewn with flowers and reddened by the earth. Flocks of swans migrated to their northern homes, and flights of herons flew beneath the clouds, pealing with thunder. Ram lay awake in the moonlit nights thinking of Sita. In the distance he could hear the beating drums and festive singing of the monkeys, celebrating Sugriv's victory. Sugriv is enjoying his change of fortune, he thought, while I have lost everything. But it is not yet time to act. We must wait for the rains to end, when Sugriv will remember his obligation to me. After 4 months, Hanuman looked out and saw the sky clear and bright. The rains were over, and the time had come to repay the debt to Ram. He went to Sugriv and found him intoxicated in the embrace of his wife, Ruma. Do not forget your friend Ram, who has done you good service by killing Bali, reproved Hanuman. He is waiting to hear what you are doing to help him find Sita. Sugriv was stirred into action. Call for Nila, he commanded. Tell him to muster monkey troops from near and far. All monkey warriors must be here within 15 days, under pain of death. Sugriv then returned to the arms of his mistresses. But Ram heard nothing. He felt the change of season as the warm autumn nights drew in under a clear sky. He called Lakshman. Go and speak with Sugriv. Tell him not to forget that it was I who killed Vali, and warn him that if he does not help me, I'm quite capable of killing him too. Lakshman set off in earnest to confront Sugriv. As he angrily entered the caves of Kishkinda, the guards fled to inform Sugriv of his arrival. Sugriv, however, was in a drunken stupor in the midst of his lovers. Hanuman impressed upon him the seriousness of the situation. You have lost track of time. Now go quickly and appease Lakshman, he urged. Bow low before him and offer to do whatever Ram pleases. Lakshman was ushered into Sugriv's private apartments. He saw beautiful girls decorated with tinkling ornaments. The lovely Tara, now Sugriv's wife, emerged in a languid state, slightly intoxicated. What displeases you, Prince Lakshman? She inquired softly. Your husband appears to have forgotten his duty, replied Lakshman. For the last 4 months he's indulged in wine and lovemaking and seems unaware that it is now time to fulfill his duty to Ram. I have come to remind him. Please forgive my husband, who forgets the passing of time and under the sway of passion. However, he has already sent for thousands and millions of monkeys and has quite shaken off his sensuous mood. Tara beckoned him into Sugriv's presence, where he beheld Sugriv lying like a god on a soft couch, embracing Ruma and served by young women. Lakshman angrily rebuked him. You are decadent and ungrateful. You have accepted Ram's services, but have not returned them. Ram wishes me to warn you that if you do not honor your agreement with him, you will go the way Vali went. Sugriv got up quickly, scattering his women like the moons, carrying stars in its wake. Do not speak harshly to my husband, pleaded Tara. He meant no harm. To please Ram, he would give up his throne, and even Ruma and myself. He is prepared to kill Ravana, but we must first defeat Ravana's army, which is said to consist of 1,000 billion Rakshasas. Therefore, we have sent for millions of monkeys, baboons, and bears from the 4 quarters to assemble here. Today, they are due to arrive. After Lakshman had been placated by Tara's words, Sugriv ventured to speak. I owe my good fortune to Ram, and I will repay him. Ask him to forgive me. Forgive my harsh words, spoken out of concern for Ram, countered Lakshman. Now come with me to reassure him. First, I must organize the gathering of my troops. Sugriv called again for his commander, Nila. Send out a second wave of messengers to hasten the mustering of forces from the far-flung mountain ranges of Himalaya, Mahindra, Vindhya, Kailash, and Mandara. All must gather here within 10 days. Especially attend to those who are sensuous and lazy. Tell them they must obey my royal command or suffer death. In a moment, these messengers took to the air, flying with the speed of mind along the migratory routes of the birds. They fanned out across the world to gather monkeys from seashores, mountains, forests, and lakesides. A vast lord of monkeys assembled. Black monkeys from Anjana Mountain, golden monkeys from the forest of the sunset, Monkeys like lions from Kailash Mountain, red monkeys from the Vidya Heights, others from the Himalaya range and the shores of the Milk Ocean. When all was in hand, Lakshman took Sugriv before Ram, to whom he bowed low. Now the time has come for our great adventure, said Ram. At this very moment, announced Sugriv, the leaders of monkeys, bears, and baboons are on their way to join us from all over the world, followed by troops numbering thousands of millions. Ram embraced them. As they spoke, a dust cloud rose from all sides, veiling the sun. The sky darkened, and the earth vibrated with the rumble of millions of feet as innumerable monkeys poured into the valley from all sides. So that is the conclusion of the fourth book on this fifth night of Navaratri. I invite you to join us again tomorrow night at the same time. Jai Sitaram, Jai